My older sister abused me my entire life, and I still don't understand why. My 25 female sister is 2.5 years older than me, and I don't have a single positive memory of her from childhood. My earliest one is her doing what she would continue to do until I moved out at 18. I'm sitting on the floor, maybe 4 or 5, playing with whatever toys with my dad out of sight, but within earshot in the kitchen. She comes in and begins speaking in a low voice, so my dad can't hear, a voice I still can't get out of my head, saying a stream of insults about how I'm so unloved, how my parents don't want me, how they'd be better off without me, etc. I get upset and yell and maybe throw a toy or hit her, and my dad comes in to see what's going on, having heard me yell. She says she was just walking by and I attacked her unprovoked. My dad believes her and he tells me off while she stands behind him with a creepy little smirk that is still seared into my memory like, "See? I told you." Okay, she was 6 or 7 and jealous of her baby sister. Except not only did it never stop, it got much, much worse. I believed everything she told me. When you hear something over and over as a child in situations designed to have whatever parent falsely reinforce it, you'll believe it. And she did that to me constantly. We were never friends. We never had a positive interaction. So by the time I was 11, I hated myself, believed myself to be unlovable, unwanted, and a cancer in my family. I developed severe social anxiety, anorexia, and depression so intense it manifested with mild psychotic features at one point. I stayed at 5'4", 20 pounds underweight through high school, while she shot up to 6'1". She loved having the ability to control my emotions and made sure I was constantly miserable. Her little trick of finding me and quietly insulting me so I'd get angry and get in trouble never stopped. I was going insane. I hated myself because I believed all she said about me and was severely emotionally unstable, so I'd usually react. When I didn't give her the reaction she wanted, however, if I ignored her basically, she'd become what I can only describe as enraged. She'd slap, punch, scratch, strangle me until my vision went fuzzy, drag me across the room by my hair, etc. And she was much bigger than me. I couldn't really fight back. When we were in HS at the same time, she'd drive us to school, and I'd always try and stay quiet, but would show up crying from the things she'd say to me in the car and the things she'd do to make me physically uncomfortable. Rolling the windows down in the East Coast winter, for example, since I got cold easily due to being so underweight. My parents didn't initially believe me about the physical abuse or that she was constantly instigating. They just thought we were fighting because we both didn't get along. Then my mom then realized at least some of the severity of it, and my sister's role in my personal hell, that she began to arrange for my mom and I to move out and into my grandmother's, but it never happened. I think my mom got overwhelmed and kind of shut down like she still does. My dad didn't believe it was my sister at all until a few years ago. So nothing happened. There was no effort to separate us, and she kept driving me to school despite me begging for one of them to instead. I got more and more unstable. I hated being in the house since she was there, so I'd go on walks that would last 4 to 6 hours. A few times I walked so long my legs gave out, and I'd have to sit on a curb for another hour plus till I could walk again. I'd walk through bad neighborhoods intentionally, hoping to get shot or kidnapped or something. I was so depressed and miserable at home. My dad got cancer, and she accused me of worsening it, telling me I was going to kill him since I couldn't stay home and often stayed out past curfew to get away from her. This stressed my parents out as they thought I was getting high, but I was literally just walking for hours. Stress is bad for cancer, hence my role in his illness. He recovered fully, thank God. My little brother was born when I was 6, and she showered him with love from that moment on, often running to cuddle him and then insulting me while doing so just so I'd feel the difference. I didn't realize how aware he was of this and her intent until recently. I didn't know that what she was doing was systematic and intentional abuse and not normal until I was 21 and in therapy. I finally cut her off. I confronted my parents and forced them to listen to story after story of her beating and choking me now that I knew it wasn't okay. My dad broke down sobbing and apologized over and over for not believing me then and now. 4 years later, I've mostly forgiven him and try not to be resentful. They're incredibly loving parents, and I've read so much about how most parents don't recognize sibling abuse for what it is. It's harder for me to forgive my mom, as she did recognize it, then did nothing to protect me. But I don't think she knew the extent, and I know it's her own anxiety reaction to just stop trying when things get to be too much. I still don't know why she did it. In the beginning, I understand jealousy, but later she was a beautiful, incredibly intelligent, successful, and well-liked student, and I was stick and bones spiraling uncontrollably. But still, she hated me. This led me to some very, very dark places, including a horrifying relationship with a 33-year-old at 16. I still get flashbacks from today. She's very much a narcissist, and I know that's an overused word, but after leaving high school, she kind of let her true colors show to everyone else too. As a kid, I was the only one subjected to her abuse, while she was the brilliant golden child, which is part of why nobody outside the family believed me either. So it was pretty gratifying for me when she started treating everyone around her like second-tier trash. And though she didn't abuse them like me, it did cause all her friends to cut her off en masse and see that I hadn't been lying the entire time. Nobody speaks to her now. After I went no contact with her, she did the same to my parents. Then my little brother, who had witnessed much of her behavior towards me, ended contact as well, and he and I have become close. I've been through a lot, including sexual assaults and that awful, awful relationship at 16, but I only have nightmares about her, a recurring one where she comes back into our lives and I'm once again forced to be around her and told to deal with it. Though everyone knows about the abuse, they don't know how confused and hurt I still am about why she would do all those things to her own sister and never stop. I put on like I don't care now that she's gone, and oh, she's just a bitch. But it hurts me so deeply to see the relationships and bonds other sisters have, and I still feel like, even though logically I know it's not true, that there's something inherently wrong with me, and has been since childhood, that prevented that bond from ever forming. Otherwise, I can't understand why she's always hated me so intensely. Edit, I'm crying reading these responses. Thank you all for your kind words. I didn't think this would get any traction, as trying to explain why I don't talk to my sister anymore always makes me feel like I'm dramatic, since a lot of siblings fight, argue, and it's hard to explain the difference. I still feel kind of crazy talking about it, like I'm overreacting. Edit 2. Thank you all again for your responses. It's so powerful to hear your stories. I'm reading every single comment and trying to respond as much as I can, while still being responsible with all the schoolwork I have to do. Lol. Final edit. Just an update on my life now to answer some questions. I am in EMDR therapy. Thank you to everyone suggesting it because you're so right. It's incredibly powerful and I highly recommend it. I'm finally in college. Even though going to college is expected, the norm in my family, and even though despite my intense mental health breakdowns and psych ward stints, I didn't do terrible in HS. My sister would always joke about how crazy and shocking it would be if I went to college or was successful in general, so I didn't really consider it, especially because my mental health issues got worse before they got better. But now, at 25, I'm getting a bachelor's in business economics, and I'm really proud of myself because I'm actually not that stupid, and I'm doing really well. I'm actually very close with my dad now, and my mom and I are on good terms. Despite them not protecting me as a child, they've been very supportive, emotionally and financially, as I've been trying to pull myself together these past years. I'm definitely on an upwards trajectory, but I still suffer from tons of anxiety and feelings of inferiority and have very severe commitment issues. Working on it. I'm sorry for how crazy long this is. I honestly didn't think many people would read it. I just needed to write out and process some feelings I was having. I'm so touched so many of you have and have taken the time to respond. It's very sad, but very validating to see my story repeated in others. May we all heal and succeed. My fiancé ended everything with me, but came one day later. I don't want him back, but my mother is pressuring me. I'm in a really difficult situation, and I honestly don't know what to do. Just for context, I'm Muslim, so some things might seem unusual to you, but anyway. We got engaged in March 2024 and were planning to get married this summer. We don't live together. We were planning to once we got married. We're also in a long-distance relationship since we're not from the same city. From the beginning, I always told him that I wanted to do my master's degree, and he was okay with it. But as our relationship progressed, specifically after the engagement, he changed his mind. We argued a lot about it because I felt betrayed, and in the end, he threatened to end everything if I decided to continue my studies. So, I gave up on my plans just to keep the relationship. On his end, he decided that he'll move to my city. I never asked him to do that. I only told him that he lived too far and that I wanted to be in a city closer to my parents. He had a really good job in his city, but he chose to leave. Even if that was something I preferred, I never forced him. I just said it would be better if we found a city that wasn't too far, considering he was a 10-hour drive away from my parents' home. He eventually found a city that was somewhat in between both our families. He got a job there, but the only issue was finding an apartment. In our country, you need at least 3 months' worth of salary from a new job to rent a place, so he decided to move into a shared apartment in the meantime. But when he got there, he said he couldn't stay because it was too dirty and the people living there were unhygienic. Yet, he never sent me any photos or videos so I could see for myself. But fine, I accepted it. He went back to his parents' house and took a small job while waiting for the wedding. Fast forward to now, the wedding is approaching, and he finally found a job last week in the city where I live. It was well paid, and everything seemed to be coming together. But 2 days ago, the night before he had to give his answer to the company, we had an argument about his money management. He doesn't pay any bills or rent since he lives with his mother, but he also never contributes financially at the end of the month. I don't care about that right now since we don't live together, but I just told him I was scared for our future because I'm still unemployed. I got my bachelor's degree, but he didn't let me continue my studies, and I haven't found a job yet. I simply asked how we were going to manage financially when we had rent, bills, and other expenses to cover. I told him that I didn't want to get married just to struggle, especially since I'm currently living comfortably with my parents. I think he took it personally. Maybe I didn't express myself the right way. It wasn't my intention to hurt him, but he got really angry. He ended the call and told me that I talked to him like he was a beggar. Then he said, "Do I ever tell you that your parents bought you a $25,000 car that you can't even maintain?" That hurt me because I'm only in this situation because he made me give up my master's degree. And then, the next day, he broke up with me. I was shocked because we've had way bigger problems before, and he never said anything like that. But now, just when he finally found a job and an apartment in my city, with the wedding coming up, he suddenly decides to end everything? Then, just 1 day later, he came back, apologizing, saying he was just angry, that he's young and immature. But I don't want to go back to him. I sacrificed my master's degree and my career for him, and he left me like I was nothing. He keeps saying that he also sacrificed things for me, but I honestly can't even think of one. The only thing I can come up with is that he moved closer, but I never threatened him to do that like he did to me. His mother called me, telling me that we shouldn't throw away 2 years of our relationship over this, that it's not like he cheated on me or anything. On top of that, my own mother really wanted this relationship to work. She knows everything because she's like my best friend, but the problem is that she's against me ending things. One moment, she says he doesn't deserve me, but then when he sends a message acting guilty, she changes her mind, saying I should give him another chance, that he did a lot for me. She keeps telling me that I'll regret leaving him, that nothing guarantees I'll find someone better. And now, I'm scared and lost. I don't want this relationship anymore, and it's not like I'm the one who ended it in the first place. But at the same time, I keep thinking about what my mother says. What if I find someone even worse, someone who won't let me work or who might be abusive? In the end, he is not that bad compared to them. I just don't know.